You're listening to The Grip, where we take hold of mindset and martial arts. Now, let's get started. Today's guest is a true force on and off the mats. His martial arts journey began with high school wrestling and has grown into more than 15 years of training across various disciplines, including Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, boxing, and Muay Thai. He's currently the number 1 ranked middleweight and number 2 ranked welterweight in the Pacific Northwest. And among 18,000 fighters, he sits at an impressive pound-for-pound ranking at number 109 across North America. With 8 titles to his name, he currently holds championship belts at 170 and 185 pounds in the Pacific Northwest and holds the 170-pound title with UNF in California. But his achievements don't stop there. Outside the cage, he's the owner of one of the top State Farm agencies in the nation, ranking number 35 out of 20,000 agencies, and is recognized as a President's Club agency. Beyond his professional and athletic success, he's a proud husband, father of 2, and for over 20 years, he's faithfully served as a deacon in the Armenian church. It's an honor to welcome to the podcast, Albert Tadevosyan.
Thank you so much. That was a very good introduction.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you coming on, Albert. You've been a busy man lately, I feel like, between traveling with your family lately and then preparing for fights. I appreciate you just taking the time and finding an opportunity to squeeze in and have a chat with me.
Of course. Yeah, anything for an old friend.
Very good. And where did you guys just get back from?
We were in Paris and Armenia back home.
That looked like an amazing trip.
It was a lot of fun. We go there every year. Not Paris, but Armenia. Paris was our goal for our 10-year anniversary. So,
well, congratulations.
We landed there first. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of a good segue. And so what I like to do is start from the beginning to help our listeners just kind of get a background of who you are. And so I'm really excited to dive in deeper with you because your story is so unique. And so moving from early days in Armenia to competing at such a high level in North America is a huge leap. And I can't wait to hear more just of your personal experiences and stories that have ultimately led you here today.
Yeah. Happy to share. You want me to share with the childhood first?
Yeah, let's go back to just, you were born in Armenia, right?
I was born in Armenia. My dad was always in Russia working, sending us money. There was no jobs in Armenia. There was not much opportunities there. So that's kind of, I would barely see my dad, just maybe 5 days every few months. And then eventually decided to come to the United States with my brother. So I didn't see him for 7 years. So
Wow.
We were left there from age 7 to 14. That's kind of where my roots started as being a man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I had my mom and my sister with me. So I started my first job at 9 years old. I've had 4 or 5 jobs. My first job was a pizza delivery with no GPS or anything. I'd just call and give an address. Good luck finding it. And then I would that was my second job. My first job was selling ice cream at a park and then working at an amusement park and just several other things, passing on business cards. And it was a lot of fights we would get in Armenia too. So we're very outside all the time. Sometimes I'd get home at like 4 or 5 a.m. just being outside with friends doing dumb things.
Sure. And so all of these like kind of little odd jobs that you had were all in Armenia?
It was all in Armenia, yeah.
Very good.
I wanted to have some money to spend for myself. I didn't want to ask my mom for money. So just needed jobs and went and got them.
Yeah. So what are some of the core memories that you have and that have kind of stayed with you? Because I would assume that the culture and the values are quite different over there. So can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it's going to be very extreme. So in the neighborhood, I would never let my sister wear a skirt that's above her knee. So, it's cultural, this and that, right? And so I was very strict and I was like thinking I'm the man of the house. So I had to look out for my sister, for my mom. And I remember at age 11 or 12, we thought we were so old that we can't play soccer outside anymore. So we thought we'd grown up and we wouldn't. We'd just stop playing. We would just it was very different. It was a lot of like neighborhood gangs type of a thing where each neighborhood kind of has each other's backs, and then you sometimes get in fights with other neighborhoods and that sort of things. In schools, we get in a lot of fights. I got expelled from school. I got arrested in sixth grade when I got expelled from school from just fighting. But yeah, it was a tough childhood. I remember coming to America thinking I would never go back to Armenia. I was just fed up with everything, and it was more like a second chance to life, to a childhood again. Coming to eighth grade here to high school, and I remember in PE first month looking at everybody playing dodgeball. I'm like, I'm too old for this, and then I slowly started accepting, you know what? I'm a kid, I'm in eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
I can relive this childhood, And so
Sure.
it was it was a blessing to come to the United States.
Yeah. So for a good chunk of time then, Albert, it was just you three at home, you, your mom, and your sister.
7 years.
Okay. And then you have other brothers?
Yeah, I have an older brother who moved to US with my dad. And so they
Okay.
also had their side of the story, the tough things they went through to
Sure.
get us to the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back because I'm curious about when you first started working then, because you were how old when you had your first job as a little ice cream seller? Were you selling ice cream?
I was selling ice cream and popcorn. I had to make the popcorn at a park where as soon as the sun would go down, it was really hot over there in summers. There's a lot of people walking outside with the sunflower seeds. The whole city's walking outside. You know everybody there. It was a very, very fun environment. And I would work from about 6, 7 p.m. all the way to about 11 p.m. every day. And I would make 700 dirham, which is like, at that time, it was like $1.50, but now it's about $2. Um, and then by the time we get home, we'd use that money to buy ourselves some candy and ice cream and treats, and we would just spend most of it by the time we even get home the same day.
Sure, sure. And you said you were 9 years old. And so what? That's like second grade here, right?
Is that what it is? Yeah, I guess.
Around there? I'm like second, third grade. I don't know, but it's young. And so was that just you and your sister were both doing that as well, or just you out there with some buddies?
I was with my buddies.
Yeah.
I was with my buddies. Two of my close friends. My sister is 7 years older than me, so she was in school at that time.
Okay, very good. So what role did sports or physical activity play in your early years in Armenia? Because I'd like to say that you dove into or your interest in combat sports when you started wrestling in high school, but it sounds like you started at a very young age with the physical activity.
So, first of all, we lived on a 14th floor, right? So, and every other day our elevator didn't work. So that was a whole workout just going up the stairs and down several times a day. There was never official sports. I tried few times. I've never stuck to anything, but we played this game outside and it was called The Password. So two teams, each one has a password. Everybody knows it at each team. You have to beat each other up until somebody shares the password.
Oh
And it was
my
anything
God.
and everything. And you're running through neighborhoods and you're catching each other. You throw them on the ground. I mean, it was just manipulating joints. It was all of it.
That sounds like a combination of like tag versus hide and seek versus pure chaos.
Yeah, it was at all, and it was pretty common in our city, in our neighborhood, because we'd be chilling in the neighborhood, and then you'll see other kids running through our neighborhood. I'm like, oh, they're playing the game.
That's hilarious. And now that you guys have been back, do you ever see that going on still today?
No,
They're
I'm
missing
glad they got
out.
technology. Playing video games now.
Yeah. That's funny. So you were active in whatever way you could within the neighborhood, hiking up 14 flights of stairs. And then you ended up, what was ultimately the deciding factor once you guys came to the US? Was that you, your mom, your sister, everybody got to come at once? And that was about when you were in eighth grade?
Oh, yes, exactly. I
Okay.
finished eighth grade in Armenia, and I went to eighth grade again so I could have more time in school to learn English
Sure.
by the time I go to college, which I
Yeah.
never did.
Okay. That's amazing. And so what was that transition like for you? Because that's already a tough time in a kid's life, I think, in general, junior high and merging into high school, you're hitting those teenage years, you're maturing in all different ways. And then, like you said, it sounds like you are already mentally had a lot of more maturity than maybe most here. And as far as just kind of surpassing or skipping some of the childhood memories or games or just the youthfulness that that age can bring. So how was that transition for you? Was it difficult or was it more of a positive experience?
I think it was positive because imagine in Armenia, we'd watch all these Hollywood movies and we'd be dreaming about coming to America, right? The American dream. And it was a dream for me. So for 7 years, because my dad and my brother was there. So I was very excited coming. My sister was a little disappointed because she thought it was downtown everywhere, high-rise buildings everywhere. But we went to the neighborhoods and we were living in a townhome, very quiet place. Going from where you know everybody, city, a lot of movement. You go outside, there's a lot of people walking to, it's dead. Neighbors don't even know neighbors. We're so not used to that. And I was a little young to see those things, but she was older. But for me, it was very exciting. I loved high school. I loved middle school. I really enjoyed sports. It was very exciting for me. It's just I had to learn English, right? So 8th grade, couldn't speak a single word of English. 9th grade started to kind of mumble here and there. But I think I adapted it well. And again, it was a second chance of a childhood. Just really enjoyed high school overall. It was very new to me and it was very exciting to me.
Yeah. What city did you guys move to?
We went straight to Kent, Washington. So
Okay.
we lived there for first 10 years, I believe, in US.
Okay. Okay. Well, and that's and I don't know if this is kind of what you experienced, but I would imagine with you learning English and the language barrier, I'm sure that was maybe a benefit of some sort of physical activity or sport, because although communication can be very essential for some of these activities, it's not necessarily a dire need. So like there can be a lot of common ground with little communication. I'm sure from a coaching standpoint, there had to be a lot of maybe charades and things that you had to learn and get across. But what a great environment being able to be part of some of these sports activities. So what else did you do besides wrestling?
So I'll go back a little bit. When I came, my first summer started after 8th grade, right? I finished 8th grade. My dad was in a painting job. And I'm like, first summer in America, right? And my dad takes me to work with him every single day. And it's like 12-hour days. And I'm painting apartments with him. I hated it so much. Every morning I wanted to act like I'm sleeping. He would still wake me up. It was a great lesson. I'm glad my dad put me through that. And then towards the end of summer, I told him I'm going to join sports. And the first sport was cross country in 9th grade. And as soon as I would say I have practice, he wouldn't take me to work with him. So I was like, okay. So I learned that because he's a big sports fan and he wants me to be some sort of a professional athlete. At that time, it was basketball. He wanted me to be an NBA. I did cross country and then I tried out for basketball team. I didn't make it. And I just kind of like, I couldn't speak English and I kind of like, well, what is that? What's that sport, right? Like, oh, it's wrestling. I'm like, wrestling? Like, I couldn't even read the word wrestling. I was reading with a W, like wrestling.
You're like,
what
these
is this?
guys are playing Password. I don't know what.
Yeah, pretty much. So I joined wrestling, kind of an accident, but also to be in shape because my brother did it in high school. I said, it's the toughest sport you can do in high school. So I joined it and I mean, I got destroyed by kids that were 50 pounds less than me. I thought they were like state champions, but they ended up being not even varsity. They were just not that good, but I realized how tough it was, and that was addicting to me. Uh, so I did. I finished 9th grade. I wasn't good or anything. I just had to finish the season. And then after that, I joined track. And then after that, I was like, okay, what's there in the summer? Because I'm not going back to work with dad. There was football, and our football team was doing really well and they would do it the entire summer. So I joined football, and pretty much the entire summer we're working out, and it was really good because my dad wasn't taking me to work. I didn't really love football. It was exhausting putting the helmet on and all that. So I played 2 years of football just to get by in the summers. And sometimes my dad would get mad too. He's like, you need to stop training to come to work with me. I need help. But the excuse was if I skip a single day training, they're going to kick me off the team. You can't skip. So, which was real. I wasn't lying. But yeah, so I did football, and then I did after football, it was wrestling again. So after sophomore year, I realized that football just wasn't going to be a future for me. I can't go to NFL. I can't even speak English to even go to college. So I had to be real with myself. Even though there is a certain positions I was really good at, the first game of junior year, I was starting on special teams. I made the first tackle of the season, and I was doing well. I was lifting a lot. I was athletic. I just called my coach saying I gotta quit, and he was very disappointed. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do after high school because I already knew what life was. I was
Mm,
already a grown up before, right? So I already knew something is coming, and I don't know what to do. So I already start stressing about it. I quit football and I joined martial arts because I was thinking maybe I'll open up my gym. Maybe I'll make something out of it. I also really liked it. So that's when I joined Foster Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in Kent. And pretty much all I was doing wrestling and Jiu Jitsu all year round. I quit all the sports. I was actually, during that time, I played rugby too off season, and I was really good at rugby. I was part of the Washington State All Star team, and I had to quit that too. So I just did Jiu Jitsu and wrestling, and Jiu Jitsu actually during those 2 years, I got in a lot of fights. Got in a lot of fights. I didn't know that when you call somebody mother effer, it's a cute thing, or it could be a joke. But in my country, somebody calls something to your mom, you better you better kill him. Like it was.
sure.
Otherwise, you lose your respect from the whole neighborhood, right? That was my
Yeah.
childhood. Somebody would call me that, I'd just go beat him up and get expelled,
Yeah, just
you know,
adjusting to
from
like the
school.
slang or,
I had to
cultural
learn a
norms
whole
around
world.
here.
Yeah.
Mm,
I had to
yeah.
learn a new world, right? I was the weirdo. I was the weirdo. It's like you say something, this guy just went and just punched you in the face. Why? Right? So everybody's wondering why. So, yeah, I got in a lot of fights up until I joined jujitsu. So
Mm,
that's when coach was like, "You getting any fights? You getting kicked off the team?" And also, I learned how to be more disciplined and just the confidence that hey, I can beat these guys up. I'm just gonna not say anything. I'm not gonna talk back. So that was nice. It gave me a lot of peace. So the next 2 years, I didn't get in any single fight. I was in a lot of peace, and it was awesome. It was awesome. And that's all I focused on until end of high school.
yeah. Well, and it's, as much as it sounds like you did adjust slightly to doing youthful activities, it sounds like your mentality was still just like way above your age, though, Albert. And I think that goes to show, where you are today is that work ethic and, just the mindset and upbringing that you experienced is so different than a lot of individuals here. And so, I admire that because, I mean, I can tell you firsthand, I was not thinking about what I was going to do professionally or that seriously as a sophomore in high school, let alone, junior high or starting a little side gig when I'm 9 years old. And so that's pretty admirable. Do you feel like a lot of that influence came from your family? Just that work ethic, or was it the Armenian culture, or a little bit of both?
I think that it just simply was being broke growing up, right? So when I just moved here, I remember I didn't have lunch for a few weeks in school, but my friend gave me his pizza and his chocolate milk. And that was such a luxury for me to have pizza. It was like we have pizza once a year over there if we can.
Mm,
So that was awesome, right? So
mm-hmm.
I grew up we were very poor in Armenia. So my dad would send money once a month, and sometimes it was $100 in the entire month for three people to survive on. Obviously $100 would go a little bit longer way than it does now, but it still was hard.
Yeah.
Just seeing the money struggle and the tough life, I think, is what made me grow up a little bit sooner.
Yeah. So, who are some of your early mentors or influences throughout your childhood and then as you merged over here? It sounds like clearly your family. Anybody else that kind of made an impact from early days?
Yeah, so I had a friend named Isaiah Goodwin in ninth grade. And the very last day of school, we went to a lake together, all of us. And that's when I still could barely speak English, but we were friends. It was him and it was his friend, his brother named Jordan Goodwin. He had another brother, but he wasn't with us that day. So to this day, I'm close with him. But Isaiah, after I left the lake, I go home and back then we were using MySpace, right? And then I see everybody posted RIP Isaiah Goodwin. So I was like, what does RIP mean? I go ask my brother. He's like, rest in peace. It means he died. Like, what? And so I called my friends, and he drowned in the lake right
Mm.
after I left. So it was very sad, but I became very close with his family, with his parents. So his mom was, and his brother, Jordan, they were probably who really talked to me about God. Truly, that's when I really accepted God in my life. That's when I accepted Christ. But it was very hard for me to do it because I was in this phase of just, I want to party, I want to do this, I want to do that, And so I just kind of told myself, what if I just get obsessed with MMA and that would be my joy? And I would still, follow the commandments, try to follow, God's um God's will, because I was very addicted to a lot of, I'm 18, 17 years old, right? I'm senior high school. We're partying every weekend. We're having fun. I'm like, how do I not do these things? It's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So they were a huge influence for me because after high school, we were actually going and serving the homeless. We were talking about God to them, and they were a good example for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Are you still connected with them today?
Oh, yes. Yeah. We're
That's great.
very close. I call her. They have a nonprofit. We work together to feed the homeless to this day. She'll fly to California, feed the homeless there too. But it's not just about feeding them, but it's about feeding them really good food. And at the same time, you're talking to them about the gospel and God and how to turn their lives around. And many of them, several months later, come back truly changed. They changed their lives around. And I've realized we're really like making a difference with that nonprofit that they're
That's
running. And
amazing. What's the
so
nonprofit
I'm
called?
founding, it's called the Body of Christ.
Amazing. The Body of Christ, and they're based out of Seattle area?
Kent. Yeah, they're in
Nice.
Kent. Yeah, they'll go to Seattle a lot. That's when they'll do their services.
Well, shout out to Body of Christ. That's amazing. And so leading into that, you've been a deacon in the Armenian church for over 20 years. Can you explain what that role is and kind of what the responsibilities are within that, and how your faith has ultimately guided you both in the cage and in your everyday life?
Yeah, so I started serving in Armenia, but obviously without the knowledge, just to go there, and my priest kind of forced me to do it. It started with my mom would go to that church, and they invited me to help them with some work, like a concrete we wanted to put. And I went there helping, and he just kind of pushed me into a room to put on a thing to start serving. And so I
Sure.
started. I made friends, and yeah, I was serving, but I didn't know anything about Bible.
Right.
And then that's when Jordan and the Goodwin family truly put the seed in me, right?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was serving, and then there's three stages, right? And Armenia was the first Christian nation, and we have it's Orthodox Christianity, so we had to follow the traditions of the church, and so there's three stages of being deacons, and then after the third stage, you become a priest if you want to, right? You have to go
Sure.
to training and go through the whole process. So I was just kind of serving because I was forced to in Armenia. And
Yeah.
then I came here and I just continued doing it. I continued doing it. I felt that I wanted to transition into American churches too. Sometimes I'd go. The preaching is really good. I've asked God if what He would want me to do to lead me to what do you want me to serve? What do you want me to do? And I saw a dream that I should stay in the Armenian church and serve there. And so to this day, I go there. I serve every Sunday, and it's the best thing um, because if I don't, right, if you don't fill yourself up with God, you're gonna fill yourself up with other things, and they're bad addictions, everything in life. So I'm a big Christ follower and a big believer. Obviously, I sin just like everybody else, but that's really what helped me with my career and my businesses as well, because I lead my team and my office same way, the godly way, right? Turning the other
Mhm.
cheek and all these things. So Bible helps me a lot. It guides me a lot to be a good leader.
Yeah. And those are the kind of the two main topics that I want to talk about is your business and fighting. And so let's start off with just your martial arts journey because you're kicking ass right now. So congrats.
Thank you.
It's just been amazing to see where you've been going over the last few years, and I'm excited to see what's to come. So let's just kind of take it back because I know your experience and you've delved into various martial arts. Okay. So, out of all the disciplines, you've trained in wrestling, BJJ, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai. I'm just curious, what's been the hardest for you to gauge or train, and why?
I think it was jujitsu because it took me so long to have that aha moment. It took me so long. I remember my coach was like, "You can't fight until you get your blue belt." And I was a wrestler who just take people down and stay on top and just smash them. And he's like, "That's not jujitsu. Like, you got to do jujitsu." So I had to really learn the grappling. I would pull guard, I'd work the technique, and it took me, I think took me the longest. I put in the most work in wrestling and in jujitsu.
Mm
That's probably why that's my biggest strength. But I feel that, I guess you could call my talent, what comes natural to me is striking.
hmm. Mm
That part was very easy for me to adapt and learn. And then I've done it all, right? So my first day
hmm.
in MMA practice, we had some of the top fighters in Washington. Man, they would not take it easy on me. I was just a wrestler, 18, and they're like 22, 23. Man, they were whooping my butt so bad. I was forced to learn the footwork and all that, striking in some ways. But yeah, I just feel that wrestling and grappling, jujitsu specifically, was the toughest to learn.
Yeah. That's surprising to me just because you had so much early experience in that. I figured maybe the merge into that striking world would feel a little awkward. So that's cool that that became kind of a natural thing to you, something new and exciting that you were able to pick up quickly. So you've had various championship fights. And so walk us through just kind of what it takes mentally and physically for you to prepare for some of these, title fights.
Yeah. Yeah. So some obviously are short notice, many have been. So I always try to stay ready. But when a camp starts, right, it's about 6, 7 weeks of structured training. I sacrifice a lot because I can go out and make a lot of money outside. I'm in sales business. I can get in sales myself, but it's just all about the schedule and it's sticking to the schedule. And it's the same repeat every week. It's very hard, right? You got to diet, you got to recover, you got to train in the morning, you got to train at night. Sometimes training, there's too many trainings. There's your conditioning, there's your, maybe you want to do boxing, maybe you want to do wrestling, maybe some lifting, right? So if you do too much striking, you're losing a little bit of muscle. Now your wrestling it's harder because your body's conditioned for that and vice versa. So I try to balance it out. Every morning I'll do my 3 times a week I do my conditioning and I'll do my striking in the mornings. And in the evenings I'll do my sparrings and I'll do my jujitsu.
And have you kept that schedule for quite some time now? Like, has
About
that been what's worked for you?
about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, out of the 8 titles you've earned, is there one that carries the deepest meaning or story for you?
Yeah, actually. It would be my welterweight title that I won, I would say 2.5 years ago, because our original fight, I lost. It was a five minute war. I lost by split decision. And after the fight, I changed coaching and I changed my camps. I tweaked a lot of things. And it meant a lot to me to come back and win because I started my career, right? I won 7 fights in a row. So I'm 7-0 professional. I was number one ranked at that time. And then I lose one fight and then I take a 5 year break because I wanted to build my business. So
Mm,
I lose that fight. I take 5 year break. I come back. I take another fight 1 week notice on the UFC Fight Pass. It wasn't a smart decision, but I wanted to create a relationship with the Fight Pass League.
hmm.
So I lost that fight too. And then I have this fight for a title and I lose a split decision. So I won 7 in a row and then I lose 3 fights, but then that's like 6, 7 years of not winning.
Right.
So
It's like
it
a
was
tough
very tough.
comeback. Yeah.
Very tough, very tough. So I said I need to change things up. So I hired a new coach. I changed my team, more of an MMA focused team versus just kind of Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu separate. I've really focused on the camp, and I went and I finished that guy in the second round. And first round completely dominated. Second round finished him. That was a really good comeback, and I proved it to myself that I still got it.
Hmm.
I'm still the man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I do think, I don't know if you're a big believer of like momentum with sports in general, but I do think that can, go in athletes' favor, right? And so we all know if we're riding this high and we're feeling good, we're jiving in the preparation process, the recovery process, mentally, especially. And so I can't imagine putting myself in the reverse, right? We've all seen where those fighters have had a few losses and they have to grit it out even more to come back and still be mentally strong, still have the belief in themselves. And so that's amazing. Um, so currently, right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have 14 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and that's just your professional career. So I'm sure a number of fights prior from your amateur days. 5 of those wins are by KO, TKO. 6 are by submission and 3 are by decision. So I do have a question because we got a lot of wins in this realm right here. Did these wins fit into kind of a game plan and something that you just ultimately prepared for? Or were a lot of these more in the moment adjustments that you made in the cage during the fight?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. It was both. Sometimes you get in and a game plan works. Usually, game plans work better against higher level opponents because those guys don't come in and just swing it. They just come in controlled, being smart about it. And so I'm able to do my game plan, which was this fight. I said, I'm going to strike with this guy. I'm going to use a little bit of boxing, a little bit of leg kicks, and then I'm going to take him down and I'm submit him. And it's exactly what happened, right? And then some fights, the guy's just sprinting at me and just swinging and bulldogging, taking me down. And it's just, okay, all right, cool. That happened. I just kind of reset myself. And then I just work my way up, finish them. Sometimes I don't even want to submit them. They're just giving it to me. It's just there. My rule is that if I see anything, I'm taking it. I'm not going to let go to show off or to anything like that because they could cost you a fight.
Yeah. A win's a
So
win.
win is a win, yeah. And a lot of times, yeah, I get the subs. Sometimes I force to get the subs, meaning like I constantly attack for the submission. Um, and again, like it depends on the opponent, but if it happened both, I've had to adjust on some of them, and some of them it worked out really well. Like
Yeah.
some fights, I expected to go 25 minutes, like against Mike Hill, the Ultimate Fighter guy. I thought we were going to go 5-5s, and he was a bigger guy, and I was expected a lot from him, and I had a sinus infection at that fight, so I could barely breathe through my nose. And that fight was my quickest fight I've ever had.
Mhm.
I didn't expect that at all, but he gave me the finish. It ended up being a TKO, and I took it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I suppose just like how you said, when you're a fighter that, especially early in the game, where you're always just having to stay ready, if you're wanting these fights that might come up last minute, a week notice, 2 weeks notice, 4 weeks notice is still so early in advance. So you kind of have to be ready for whatever. And so there's probably only so much game planning you can do for some of those short notice fights, anyways. Um, I would imagine that's just where it comes down to trusting your ability and just going in ready to rock.
Yeah, and if you think about it, like martial arts is all about being free, right? It's all about freestyling your technique. It's not where it's boxing where he hits you this way, you hit this way, and it's only so much, right? So it's jujitsu. Like if he's in your guard, you either sweep or you throw subs, right? There's not if you do this, then they do this, right? It's more of freedom. That's why it's so addicting. It's so good for so
Hmm.
many people. You're not limited. And that's what fighting is. And so a lot of martial artists have a hard time having game plans.
Hmm. Yeah. And so right now you're currently on a 7-win MMA streak.
7 win streak, yeah.
Woo, we're back, baby. And
Yes,
so
yeah.
can you tell me about your mindset as you've been on this run of victories, because you got to be riding the wave right now.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is I don't do anything to be average. Not in my office, not fighting. Might as well go do something else. I'm trying to be at the top of the top. It doesn't matter you get there or not, but you gotta act like it, you gotta train like it, you gotta work like it. So I simply just going all in on this sport. Um, in every way. My family's on board for it. So I want to get into UFC. That has been my dream for a while. I mean, I've got denied by them like 3, 4 times. I've tried out for Ultimate Fighter 3 times. I remember the second tryout, I told you guys about it. Never happened. Last one, They called, they're like, "We're for sure gonna call you." The next day, I had my fight that lasted like 60 seconds. For sure they're gonna call because they told me they're gonna watch this fight and they're gonna call me. And they never did. So I've always stuck to it and I'm just too stubborn to quit. But my goal is to get in the UFC and I feel that it's just God's plan because I've been polished and getting better. And now I think I'll do a lot better there than if I were to make it when I first tried out for Ultimate Fight. I mean, I was 21
Yeah,
years old, and I think I'd get smoked back then.
sure.
They say man plans his way, God establishes the steps. So I'm a big believer in that.
Absolutely. And so, as I was kind of doing my digging, Albert, I've seen that you've really ran into some true legends and influential people in the UFC. I saw way back in the day you had run ins with John Jones, Ronda Rousey, Henry Cejudo. And now that you have experience training at the UFC Apex, which can you walk me through your first day there and how that even came about? I mean, did you go and visit? Did you get asked? How does that work training over there?
Yeah. So the UFC PI is just facility. They have some classes, but when you have friends that fight in the UFC, you can go in there with them to help them train. So that's kind of what happened in Vegas. I go to Vegas a lot, like a lot now. So I have a house here, and so I come here for specifically for training. So um, a lot of gyms train outside of it, their own gyms, and everybody's part of like 2, 3 gyms because they specialize in certain aspects of the game.
Mm,
And then everybody gets together and they go to the PI and they get a hard training in there and they got a really good recovery room and that sort of thing. So it's great. It's their headquarters. I would just say it's nothing special. Um, the special part is when you got a coach, you got teammates that are committed, and that could be a small ghetto gym and you just going all in every single day.
mhm.
That's what makes a difference. Not anything fancy.
That's really cool. And so is that part of the Apex Center? Like, is that training facility or are those two separate places?
They're like across the street from each other.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
there's like the parking lot splits them. So you got the UFC Apex and you got the UFC PI.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so when you've had some of these run-ins with some of these, renowned fighters, whether it was way back in the day in your early days in your martial arts journey, I guess, versus now today, did you ever have this like starstruck moment meeting any of these people, or were you already trying to train your mindset that, hey, this is just another person. I'm on the same grind in the same fight that this person is? Or how do you balance that? Because I could just see myself, obviously, being like, shit, this is so and
Yeah.
so. So, how do you kind of keep your cool?
Yeah, I definitely had that. I was like, just kind of like nervous, being a weirdo, like, oh, can I take a photo with you? All that. Like, of course, because you look up to them and you
Yeah,
see them on TV, right? But after coming to Vegas so much and hanging out with them a lot, you just, and when everybody around you that is like me, who are not UFC fighters, they're not stars, like when they are so chill about it, being around them, then it becomes more normal. It becomes
sure.
more casual.
Yeah,
So then I just, of course I get really excited, but I'm like, like my manager is Anthony Pettis, right? He's a former UFC champ and absolute superstar. So I have to be like chill with him, but he was like my top guy from day one. I watched his
sure.
cage kick. I'm like, man, he's the man, And then we're like texting each other every other week now,
Yeah, I'm sure it's like you have moments where like, wow, okay, here we are.
Yeah, I'm like, shit, like this is Anthony Pettis texting me. But he's a very cool dude. I got a chance to spar with Sean Strickland. Um, it was a blessing. I got a chance. I mean, a lot of my teammates are very high level guys who are on their way there. Nobody knows them yet. So I got that, and I got some current superstars that I
Hmm.
spar with pretty casually, and it's a blessing. Obviously, they're good, and that's what I need. Over time, he becomes pretty casual seeing
Yeah,
these guys
yeah.
because they're human. They're human. I'm human. I have to get used to this. So when I fight in the UFC, for me, I want to make sure I get in a mental state that it's just, I've been doing this for so many years because I
Hmm.
can't let the nerves cost me the lack of performance.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, Yeah, and that's great. And I think, what a cool experience for you too, Albert, to be surrounded by people who are on the grind just like you are too. Some really, really high level guys that maybe, don't have their name out there yet, but probably are just as good, if not better, than some of these massive ranked fighters right now, which is the beauty of the game right now is to see how much it's already grown in the last 5 years, 10 years, that it's just crazy to see and imagine what it's going to be like in the coming years, too, because I feel like everybody's leveling up their game in all aspects of the martial arts, too. So it's an exciting time for sure.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm hoping I can get in there and show the world what I got. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very excited
You're on the path. Okay,
for
so
sure.
let's switch directions because two main areas that I feel like you have continuously put forth effort to in your life. Well, not two. I'm going to say maybe a few because you're a businessman, okay, and that started at the age of 9, clearly, and you're still killing it. So I want to dive a little bit into that. But as far as is your martial arts, as a father and a family man as well as a deacon, but let's dive into your business right now. So you're running, top State Farm agency in the country, ranked number 35 out of 20,000. What ultimately led you into insurance and the business world and sales? And what do you think separates your agency just from the rest?
Yeah, I'll go back a little bit to right after high school. I actually an opportunity came up to buy a franchise, Baskin Robbins. So I was 20 years old, um, and I decided to loan the store, and so I bought a store and I started running it. It was in 2014. It was 2 years after high school. So while I was fighting, I actually took over the business. I thought maybe it would hold me back, but it didn't. I just took like 2 weeks off and then built a team and I started running it and I was training full time. So over the years, I grew to 3 shops and I got married. I actually, the third shop, me and my wife bought it together. So, and then I just handed it all to her and I got into insurance business. My brother is into insurance business. That's how I got into it.
Okay.
So at that time when I got into it, he was already running his office for about 6, 7 years,
Gotcha.
very high level. And at that time, we start having kids, realizing it's too much. So we start selling Baskin Robbinses and I end up getting a second office. And so that's kind of where I'm at now is we have one Baskin Robbins that my wife runs and 2 offices. But my leadership really, I have a lot of coaches in my life. I have business coaches, right? Just like I have MMA coaches, but I have a lot of mentors. My brother is a big mentor for me. He actually has his insurance consulting company. So imagine every family barbecue, we're talking about business and I'm learning from him. So I learn a lot from him. And that's the key to life, right? Whatever you want to do, you just find all these people who are experts at it and you just steal ideas from them. Right? Like my brother-in-law, my sister's family got into Baskin Robbins and my brother got into State Farm. And I was like, I'm going to do both. So I copied both. But State Farm is a very hard business, very hard. It's just any insurance company, right? I realized how much different it was from Baskin Robbins because you hire a high school kid, you train them for a week, they're good to go.
Hmm.
State Farm, sometimes it takes 6 months to really get somebody on their feet, sometimes a year. So imagine you investing into a human being for a year and then they quit, right? So it's very mentally draining when that happens. So I realized, how do I give my team members something that nobody else can? So they don't go to a different office, they don't look for another job. How do I do this? And so over the years I figured that out, and so the team loves working there. And so that's a combination of many things, right? Obviously number one is money, but it's not just money, right? If it's money and their boss is a toxic person, they're gonna quit. So the way I created it and what makes us successful is that I'm not just giving them money. It's I'm letting them earn it, but when they earn, they're gonna earn way more than anyone else in any other office. So that was one of the key factors. The other key factor is the environment that we created. It's like a family. Like I love every single one of my team members as a family. Like my manager, When we went to, me and my wife went on vacation, she came and with her husband stayed at my house to watch my kids. We are very close and I love them, they love me. And just like biblical, right? Biblically, if they do something wrong, I don't make them pay for it. I turn the other cheek. I let go of it.
Yeah.
And over time, all the toxic team members leave and all the good ones stay. It always balances. So it took me many years to really slowly recognize who has my back and who doesn't, who's a good team member, who doesn't. And it's a lot of work. Out of maybe 200 people we interview, 3 might be really good.
Yeah. Are there lessons from martial arts that you've carried into running this successful business or vice versa, that you've taken from being a businessman and kind of applied what you've learned into your MMA career?
Yeah, both. Like, for example, my martial arts, like I look at it as business, first of all, right? My coaches investing money into my recovery, probably invest more than anybody because 16 years, people, their bodies are done. My body is just getting started. So
Mm.
I've really taken care of myself because I look at it as a business. My body is the business, right? And so I invest a lot into my training. I'm going negative. I'm going big time negative on my training. And then I also look at it as this is Albert. Like I'm not looking at myself, look at it. This is Albert. Okay, he's skilled here, here, and here. Okay, he's weak here, he's weak here, he's weak here. So how do we fix this? Well, you need to go to this coach, you need to go to this gym, you need to do this. So I look at it as a business. And
Mhm.
then training in Vegas a lot, I realized like in Washington, I could easily put in more work than anybody. It was very easy for me to be like, man, I'm putting more work than anybody, right? I became the best fighter in Washington, like for that reason, because I put in more work than most guys out there. But in here, man, everybody's putting in work. So here I'm like, how do I put more work than these guys? Is it
Mhm.
physically possible? So I'm still trying to figure that part out.
Mhm.
But one thing I learned is it's not about like on a Monday we put in more work than them, or on a Monday everybody works the same, right? Everybody can go hard after a weekend, but it's about consistency.
Mhm.
So if somebody's not showing up every Thursday, and if I show up every Thursday, over time, okay, I just had one small win, small
Mhm.
win, small win, small. That's the advantage over my future opponents, right?
Yeah.
Is that putting in a little bit more work. And then in
Mhm.
business, my team is probably sick of my analogies about MMA, but everything is a sports analogy. I look at it as not
Do you
even
do that a
MMA.
lot at your work?
Yeah, all the time. um, but I watch F1 races. I
Uh-huh.
kind of look at it that way. Each team, right? You got each team. You got the Ferrari, Mercedes, all that, and then you got each office competing against each other, right? And so we obviously are competitive. And I look at it that way. It's like, okay, I got my players, I got this team, and then we're in a race. And every month is a race. Every year is a race. So we're looking at more of a as a sports team because if I go out there and be like, you need to sell more insurance, like uh, insurance doesn't is not a passion for anybody. Nobody wakes up and be like, I want to be an insurance agent, right? But we obviously shift focus into more protecting people and their finances, and then we're like, okay, so we need to have this many applications. We're not talking about money. We're just purely talking about winning. So what do we do to have this many applications? What do we do to sign this many people up? Right? It's more like sometimes it's like an NBA analogy, right? Scoring points. So how do we score? Right? We need to have a team, like a service team, who is helping like the guys that are really good at scoring. So I just bring in all these sports analogies, and I want the team to feel like it's a sport, it's a
Mhm.
game, than just a job, and I want them to really just love what they do
Yeah.
because it is tough working 8 hours a day. That's the biggest part of your day is your job. So how do I make it fun for you? So many
Yeah.
team members, even if a better job offer comes, they don't leave the office.
Yeah. I love it, Albert. You got some good stuff going for you. Well, and it dawned on me because I was thinking, clearly in MMA and martial arts, you're going to have some highs, some really high highs, and then some pretty low lows. So, I mean, do you try and follow that same suit when you have days where you mess up or you have rough go around? Do you find yourself easily being able to kind of turn the other cheek like you say you do with your, employees, or is that a little bit harder when you're having to do it for yourself?
Right. So for the team, obviously we have bad days and good days. The way I learned, especially in ice cream business. So the very first year I owned the ice cream shop, my December numbers, which is winter, nobody buys ice cream, was so low, and my summer was really high, right? So it was like here, right? Over the years, because at that time I had a friend who owned a very successful store that his winter was doing more than my summer. So 10, 11 years later, now my Baskin Robbins does the same thing. My winter does 4 times more than it used to do in the winter. So actually, my winter does still more than my summers back in the day. So 4 times more than my winters, and then a little bit more than my summers back in the day. So
Sure.
I realized that okay, you can call it a bad, right? It was a bad sales that month, but to what perspective was it bad? So
Mm,
right now I can say, oh, winter is bad. Okay, it's bad, but some shops are not, right? So when we have bad days in the office, we produce probably in one day, like 3 days ago, we did 42 applications for customers. When I just started my office, the entire month we did 42 applications, my very first month. So
mhm.
it's just based on perspective. Like same thing with training.
Yeah.
You're not always going to have a really good day, right? It's a little different in training, but I'm not going to feel like a superstar every single day of the week. I'm going to feel that way maybe twice a week.
Yeah.
The rest of the days, I'm gonna twice a week. You at least feel shitty, especially end of the week, training all week, and then couple days you feel okay. And it's normal. It's part of the game. Nobody's out there feeling like a superstar 6 days a week training.
Yeah, yeah. And I think especially when you first start martial arts, it's so easy to think about where you were at the very beginning because you know nothing, right? And you're just so blind to it all and you learn things so quickly and you're making all these mass changes where I'm sure now in your career, you are at a fine tuning. It's very small adjustments, it's small improvements here and there. And so I'm sure it does take some, constructive or maybe productive reflection to make sure that you are reminding yourself of where you were and how much you've grown over the past decade and keeping yourself on the right path.
And martial arts, right? The days that you're tired, you can still get better. Isn't
Hmm.
that the goal? The goal is get better, right? So why should I leave the gym disappointed when I got better? So people don't realize they just want to win all the time in training. Beating your training partner is not winning, right? Winning is when you win the actual fight. So that day he might beat me up. I'm fine with that. But if he beats me up and the entire round, say that day my purpose was to land a body hook and I landed one really good body hook, but I got beat up the whole round. I won.
Mm,
In my head, I won, right?
yeah.
Because I just got better. Maybe he did, maybe he did not. I don't know, right?
Hmm.
But let's say I got beat up. So what? Right? So what? Okay, sure, I lost. But is that really losing? It's not losing. It's training to get better. Some days,
Right.
like you're exhausted, and that day I'm showing up at training to train my eyes. Like my body's not moving. I can barely put my hands up. I'm tired, but my eyes are getting better. My reaction is getting better. I'm starting to see
Hmm.
right. My experience point of seeing a human body that is throwing punches and kicks at me is getting better. So my
Hmm.
vision just got better.
Yeah.
If I leave the training, that means I got better. So why should I be disappointed any day of the week that I'm training?
Yeah. Yeah. So what advice, whether in your work environment or, maybe in the gym, what advice do you give some of these young professionals who want to build, not just a career, but also a lasting impact?
In the martial arts world, I'm guessing. Or
Martial arts or just within some of your employees that you have, what kind of advice do you try and give these professionals to ultimately get better and make an impact in whatever avenue they're going in?
yeah, so one thing I always say, and it bothers me a lot when people do something and they just half-ass it. Like if you're gonna do something, just go all the way. Like you're doing it anyway, right? I really don't like that participation trophy uh culture we have going on.
Yeah.
You're doing it, go all the way. If you're doing martial arts, uh, do the each art separately to become an expert at it. Don't try to be casual. Even if you're just training, if you become an expert, you're going to help somebody else who wants to be a world champion. You're going to help that guy. So you're going to be part of his path. So don't just go there just to move around, right? Just give it all. Same thing with business. If you're in sales or if you're in service, give it all. If you're gonna, like I tell my Baskin Robbins employees, I mean, you're just giving ice cream. You're just making people fat for a living. um, but I, but if you look at it a little bit differently, right? So a customer walks in, they might be having a really bad day. Who knows? They might be having a suicide thoughts. Who knows? You could change their mind. You could. They're here to eat ice cream to possibly feel better
Mhm.
many times. So you just asking them how their day going and creating a little bit of a conversation. Maybe they don't have anybody to talk to. That might save somebody's life. Who knows? Or
Yeah.
just simply make somebody's day a little bit better. You don't need to suck everybody's blood every single day of your life, right? Because then at the end, you're going to pay for it. So
Yeah.
if you make everybody's life around you better, being a better training partner, being a better employee, then it's always going to come back to you. That's the way God created this world, right? You could call it karma, whatever you want. But the more you give, the more you're going to get. And I have
Yeah.
a story about that too.
Please.
Okay, so my first ice cream job, right? It was that 700, 500, 700 dirham that I got, my first check. My mom said, if you donate this to the church, God is going to give you tenfold. So I gave it to her. She went and donated to church. And then, right, 10 years later, I'm in America. I own a Baskin Robbins store. So I bought my first store in May. I bought my second store in November. And then I'm sitting here with no money. Like I ordered with my last penny, I ordered inventory and I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Like I barely have everyday sales piling up so I can wait for the day is due to pay for it. And at that time, it wasn't a Baskin Robbins corporate that runs the entire country. It was uh, um, a corporate that owns Pacific Northwest corporate, like the
Mhm.
dairy company owned it. So it was a separate corporate. And the guy who gave me the opportunity, he's the guy who financed me the stores. And so I remember I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bill. And I owed him about $40,000, right? 10 years ago, $40,000. I'm 20 years old. And I don't know, because I'm paying him monthly with interest. And he calls me and he's like, hey, Pastor Robbins, the corporate has kicked us out. They're going to come in and run Pacific Northwest. So I don't know how they're going to treat you. I don't know what's going to happen, but I just want to help you out a little bit. Because I ordered ice cream from him. That was his dairy company. He was the CEO of the company and we had personal relationship. So he called, he's like, just whatever you have, whatever you can pay me and we'll call it even. Um, so I'm like, well, I just got like $4,000 that I ordered ice cream from that I want to pay you for the ice cream. He's like, just give that to me and we're good. So pretty much
Wow.
I got a free Baskin Robbins, free ice cream store.
That is amazing, Albert. That is so amazing. So, yeah, who knew everything would come full circle from selling ice cream that young? But how cool, because I do think those values, then, that message from your mom to ultimately give, no matter how big or small, that can be returned in a much larger quantity. So,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Obviously I didn't expect anything back, but that was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your family because from the start of your martial arts career to owning and starting these businesses, you've gotten married, you have two kids. So explain that whole process with balancing business life, fighting life, growing your family. What role have your wife and your kids played in supporting your professional journey, both as a fighter and as a businessman?
Yeah. So after second Baskin Robbins is when I got married. That's when I'm like, okay, I have stable income, time to get married. I actually was talking to my wife online for a little bit of time, and my sister introduced us. My sister went to a wedding in Armenia, and she met her, and she's a relative of my sister's husband. So we talked a little bit, and then it was crazy. I mean, for America, the story is nuts. So like we talked a while, right? We talked a while. I'm not even a citizen, American citizen at that time. And, on and off, we would just talk for a bit. And then One day she thought I wasn't serious. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come see you. And she's like, there's no way. And I bought the tickets. I sent her a screenshot, and I wasn't even a citizen at that time. My citizenship interview was like a month later. I'm like, I bought the tickets like right after that, right? So I'm become citizen. I'm going to Armenia because I didn't have any other passport. I didn't have my Armenian passport. So um, and she stopped talking to me. I'm like, what the heck, you know? So she didn't talk to me for like 2 months straight. And then I called with my brother-in-law, I called her dad. We're like, we're gonna come see you, we're gonna come meet you guys. And then I just go straight to their house. She comes home and I'm like sitting there, super creepy, super weird, But it's the Armenian way. It was pretty normal.
Is the Armenian way or the Albert way? As you're saying, hey, if you're going to do it, don't half ass it. You got to go all in.
Yeah, I guess it could be a Albert way. So yeah, I just went there for 3 weeks. That's all I could afford because I was running Baskin-Robbins. I didn't have enough employees. I didn't even have enough money to cover the whole payroll thing, right? So I was there for 3 weeks. I'm like, she's the one. I need to get married with her. Our Armenian tradition is like you got to see the family first, right? All that. That's why I went to their house to meet the parents. They're very traditional family too. So and then obviously she didn't like me first. But we started
Hmm.
hanging out a little bit.
Why could that be?
We started hanging out a little bit, and I was like 2 weeks of hanging out. And then out of nowhere, I'm like, man, I got one more week left, like I got to propose.
Wow.
And then I proposed. And then she said no. She said no. And we were like out of town. Armenia has a lot of very beautiful, like 2,000-year-old churches and stuff. So we were out of town visiting like a touristy stuff, right? So we were there, and then she said no. And then we're like driving back. I'm like, just take the ring. Like, it was a gift, I bought it anyway. She's like, well, my birthday's next week, so just give it to me on my birthday. I was like, okay, cool. And then day before the birthday, there is this traditional things you take only on engagement parties and weddings. So you don't take it to birthdays ever. So the day before we were talking, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna bring this, and we're gonna bring that, and stuff like it's our engagement party. And she went to her mom, I guess, telling her mom, and her mom was like, idiot, you're getting engaged. so, so yeah, we turned that into an engagement party, invited a lot of people and stuff, and forced the ring on it. Um, and then I flew back, right? And it was the hardest 9 months of my life until the wedding because I couldn't go back. I had to run the businesses. I had to fight at that time. I fought Dennis Hallman at that time. It was like 65-5 is a record. It was crazy wins. Yeah, so, and then we planned the wedding for 7 months. And then we did the paperwork with the visa and all that. And then I flew there, and we had the wedding, and we went to Italy for honeymoon, and then we flew here.
Wow.
So yeah, I just
It's
got
pretty
straight to
amazing.
work.
And now you guys have been married for 10 years and have two beautiful children.
Yeah,
So pretty crazy how it all works out.
yeah. It was a interesting story.
I
But it
love
worked
it.
out.
Yeah, that's great. And that's awesome. And so are both of your families, you still have quite a bit of relatives back in Armenia? Is that why you guys go back every year? And
Yeah, a lot of friends, really close friends. I actually have another startup company I'm starting with my friend who's a software engineer there. So we've been having meetings for the last 6 months. And then I went and we did it in person, playing around with that idea. And then my aunts are there, my uncles are there, my wife's parents are there. We just had a wedding. That's how we went there for the wedding, my wife's cousin's wedding. And I'm actually very close friends with my wife's brother and the cousins. So outside of family, we're friends.
Mhm.
So, and we love it. Armenia. It's something about um, the land that you're from. As soon as you step there, you feel like you just belong there.
Mhm.
America is home, but it's very hard for us to leave because you're leaving home to go home. It's a very weird mental thing to accept. But Armenia is just, I want to go there every year. I love it there. I love the food there. It's becoming one of the top 5 fastest growing countries, but becoming one of the top touristy countries because we just went to Paris, and honestly, Paris was ghetto compared to Armenia
Really?
downtown. It's very clean, very good food, very good cafes. It's gorgeous there,
What
and you
kind of
got
food is like traditional Armenian dishes?
there's a lot of meat. Everything
Okay.
is meat, so you can do keto going there. A lot of meat, a lot of pork is one of the main barbecues, and it tastes totally different than here. Even chicken, like I'll boil a chicken and I eat it like that. It's different. The meat is
Mm,
darker. There's a lot of different type of traditional foods. Like I can list them for hours, but
right.
yeah, there's a lot of different kinds. And then you got the fancy places where they take the traditional food and they kind of fusion it with European style.
Sure.
So it's amazing food there. Or
Yeah.
barbecue, like big plate of different type of barbecue and meat and
Yeah.
veggies and
Yeah.
potatoes all made on a charcoal grill. That's pretty much
That's
like the
awesome.
main dish.
Yeah. Well, and that's great that you guys have the opportunity to go back every year and have that as an option for you. So that's really nice. Yeah. Just as a husband and a father, what values do you try to model for your kids now that they're getting older, whether it be through martial arts, through faith, through your culture?
Yeah. Oh man, being a parent is hard. Um, it's I'm praying every day that I can get the wisdom to guide them properly. It's very hard, but to summarize, to simplify everything, right, is biblically. Um, I want them to believe in God. I want them to have faith. I want them to fear God. I don't want them to fear me. I want them to fear God. Um, and because God is watching all the time, right? I'm not watching all the time. They can do all kinds of stuff that while I'm not watching, and hopefully not, right? But my daughter is 9, so we read the Bible together every day. We talk about Bible. She goes to an Armenian school on Saturdays that they also talk about Bible there and they pray. She's doing really well in school and she does jujitsu and Muay Thai. So I want them to be in sports because we don't play outside as like I did in the childhood in Armenia. I get them involved with their friends. So mainly I would say just sports and religion, right? Sports
Yeah.
and being a follower of Christ. My son is 4, so he's a troublemaker. Even in jiu-jitsu, I mean, he has to run around, so coach has to like grab him, put him in place. So it's hard, but that's one thing I want to force on them is to do martial arts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How has your wife and your kids handled when you go out and fight? I don't know if your kids are old enough to really even understand yet, but how is that dynamic? Have you guys had to have tough conversations or
Yeah, my son is too young, but my daughter is 9, so she's really rooting for me. Some of her classmates like watched my videos. They love fighting, so they're like, "Oh, your dad is awesome, this and that." And so she comes home telling me all that, pumped up. She's excited. My daughter has this personality where anything she does, she's excited about. She
Mm,
does. Actually, we took her to gymnastics with very hardcore Russian coaches. Man, it was harder. It was like 4-hour practices for like 7-year-old. So, but she was doing it and she was just getting out all happy and fun. I was like, oh man, you happy? Okay. Um, but now she does dance and her teacher's like, man, she's adapting so well. Um, I want to be an example, right? I want to be an
mm.
example. My hard work hopefully is an example for them to work hard in other things. She already talking about wants to be an insurance agent. So that's kind of cool. I definitely support that.
Yeah.
And I told her maybe a lawyer, maybe something else. She's like, no, I want to be an insurance agent. So um, I'll support that. And then my wife, she obviously hates fighting. Um, she gets drunk and goes outside until my fight is over. Um, so she never watches my fights. She's just by the bar every time. Um, and last fight, so every fight, right, since we've been married, every fight has been like 2 minutes long. Um, and the last fight was 25 minutes. So I was title fight. It went to a decision. Man, I tortured her so much that night. She was outside for 25 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say that's a little bit of time to have some drinks there.
yeah, yeah. But last fight, actually, the opponent asked me, he was going to pull out, but he's like, hey, can we do no kicks? He had an injury or something like that. And then I had a hand injury. So my hand was like severely bone bruised where it's almost like, it feels like broken, but it wasn't. But it was very close to breaking. So the whole camp was like that. So now we can't kick. And I don't have a left hand. So I had to fight 5-5s with one hand. That was a very tough fight, which it
Yeah.
should have not been tough, but it ended up being like that. So I had to just grind it out to fight, to stay active and defend my title. But that was a lot of lessons learned from that.
Yeah. Are your parents still in Seattle area?
Yeah, yeah. So I take care of my parents. Obviously, my family members do as well. My brother does as well. But I bought a house where we have an in-law suite where it has a separate entrance and everything is like separate. So they live with us, but they live separate, right? So they're in there, and we live together pretty much. In
Mhm.
Armenian culture, the youngest son stays with the family. I moved out for a few years. I bought a house, different house. My wife and kids moved out, and I realized I don't want to leave them behind. They're getting older, and
Mhm.
I want to take care of them. So then I bought this house so they can move in with us.
Yeah. How has you and your parents' relationship evolved just as you've continued to progress through martial arts? Because it sounds like your story is a little bit more unique than some can be because, your father, it sounds like it was already kind of talking about viewing sports as if you really believing that, hey, if you're going to do it, try and go professional. Where I sometimes feel like kids don't necessarily always have that. One, that maybe their parents don't even know about martial arts, or two, even if they do know about various realms of sports, they might be like, oh, yeah, what are the odds of my kid actually going professional? Maybe don't necessarily have that belief or drive to really think that, hey, have that initial goal. And it sounds like you and your dad were already having that discussion from a young age. So how has that kind of evolved as you've continued to grow?
Yeah, so my dad definitely always supported me doing any sports, but first because his passion was basketball. When I quit basketball to join football, I remember he just went off on me like, you're a quitter, you gave up already, this and that, right? And so that anger, what the shit that he gave me actually was the one of the really roots for me to not give up, to not quit, because I know he's gonna be pissed at me again. So so in football, now when I want to quit football, I didn't even tell him. So my brother was paying my membership for like good year.
Mhm.
I was going to doing martial arts and he thought I was going to football.
Oh
So
my gosh,
um
Albert.
and uh and one day I remember he's like, I've noticed you've been watching a lot of MMA, and you think I didn't notice that you actually don't even do football anymore. You're doing this sport. He's like, my next paycheck, I'm going to actually pay for some private lessons, go train more. So
Mm.
it was a very smooth transition. So that was nice.
You didn't even have
Um,
to broach it. You were just waiting for him to find
yeah.
out.
And then, what's funny? There was a stage of my life, especially when I was losing, everybody's like, dude, you're making money, you're doing well. Just stop this sport. It's such a brutal sport. When everybody was like, they were doubting me, right? It's like, oh man, you don't have it anymore. You make your money, you have family, dude. You keep losing, right? Like
You had a
everybody's
good
just
run.
doubting. Yeah, yeah. They're like, just stop it, man. Why are you fighting here? So, and that was the time my dad's just like, no, you're done. You just had a kid. You're done, right? Um, but nobody knew what I was going through, right? I was in deep depression. Like, I missed the sport, and none of my losses were legit losses. So, like my first loss was, I'm like 4 rounds just completely destroying this guy, and I get caught in a submission. So I'm like, I just made a mistake, but I wasn't getting out of class. So it wasn't like the sport has passed me. My
Mhm.
second fight was 5 years off. You take a fight on a Monday, you fight on a Friday on a weight class above you. Like the dude was 6'3", jacked, who had a full camp, right? So, okay, well, it wasn't a smart decision. And then my third fight was like, I knew the mistakes I made and it was very close. I thought I won the fight, right? So it was like, it wasn't like, man, the sport has passed you. It wasn't like that. I knew that, man, if I just tweak a few things and I fully commit, I can do this.
Uh,
I still got it, right? So, and that's when I made the changes that made me win and gave me the confidence. But as soon as I made the changes, even before the wins, I was like, okay, I'm feeling it. No one's gonna beat me. I already felt it, right? And that this is now the hardest step right now, trying to get in the UFC and trying to fight the best guys in the world. So my dad, what's funny is that my last fight, 25-minute long fight, I could only hear his voice. Like I could barely hear my coach. So that was cool. He's supporting me and he's proud of
Yeah.
me, and he's like, man, if you won this fight, you're gonna win any fight you won in your life. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool to get that proud moment from him, because he was, for a while we didn't get along. For a while, um, I even in high school wanted to leave the house sometimes because we wouldn't get along, get in a lot of fights. But
Mhm.
as I matured up, as I had kids, as I started doing well in life, I kind of earned his respect, and
Mhm.
so now we're like friends, and it's nice that my relationship built really well with him, because it wasn't like that before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So, anything exciting in the near future? Do you have anything scheduled right now, or you're just on the grind training and then seeing what opportunities come your way?
I'm just hoping it's UFC next. So
Okay.
just kind of the waiting game right now.
Yeah.
It's I've got an offer from them before. I couldn't fight, and now I can fight, and I'm good. So um they and I had one more win after that, so it should lock me in. If they were interested in me before, now I had one more win, so that should interest them as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm waiting for it. And I know you have a lot of people in your corner waiting for it too, Albert. And so we have all the confidence in you and look forward to it.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah. Well, I finish out every episode with two main questions. So the first one is, what is something that you wish didn't have as much of a grip on you in your life?
Like, meaning it wasn't an influence on me? Is
Uh,
that what you mean?
Something that you feel like maybe is taking hold of you, whether it's mentally, physically, socially, that you wish didn't have as much of a hold on you in your life.
Yeah, so eighth grade, when I had a fat accent, right? My first month in US, I remember this girl behind me said something and she started making fun of my accent over and over and over. Like the entire class, she started like bullying me. Um so I just took my friend's binder, threw it on her face, and I was like, shut up. But then since that day, I started talking very quietly, and I would never say anything to the teacher out loud. So I'd always go close and say something. And that lasted to this day. Sometimes I hesitate asking a question, like if we're in a corporate meeting or something like that. I don't know why, something behind mentally that just like, don't speak loud. What if you say something wrong? What if you make a mistake? So
Mm.
obviously I got over it in some ways, but that's like a big PTSD that stuck with me for a while. So I wish that didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And I think that's something that many people can probably relate to, whether they have an accent or not. I know it sounds like that was what was driven behind that experience as you were young, but I think that's very relatable as far as some level of fear, I guess, taking a moment and whether it be self-advocating or asking a question if you are confused or being just simply concerned of how you're perceived by others. So, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, to reverse the question now. So, what is something that you wish you had more of a grip on in your life?
I wish I consistently read more books. I think I have major ADHD, which kind of makes me a better businessman, and that's why I can do all these things. But the downside of it, I read like 3 pages. I realized I wasn't even focused on the pages. I was just thinking about life and ideas and other things. So I wish I put in more time towards reading, which I'm doing now. But with martial arts, it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just wish I read the Bible more. I wish I read other books more, business books, faith-based books, because that would really help me. Even just seeing farther steps in jujitsu. Maybe I could
Mm-hmm.
see 7 steps ahead instead of seeing three if I read a lot of books, right? I don't know. It's a brain exercise. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I like it. Do you ever try audiobooks?
a little bit. Yeah, yeah. I listen to some.
Is that better or worse than trying to sit down and read? I know some people, it's one way or the other.
I definitely have to rewind because I have so much in my mind. So I'll listen to it and I was like, gotta go back again. Same thing with
Yeah.
reading. I just can't focus.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So it's very hard for me to study. Like I need to get some, I need to expand my licenses into more financial advising,
Mm-hmm.
but I just cannot study. It's so hard for me. Maybe because I'm always tired, because I'm always training twice a
Mm-hmm.
day, and it's hard for me to focus. So I've noticed that when I don't train for a few days, my brain kind of settles and I can kind of chill a little bit. Maybe that's what it is, because I've never had times where I didn't train and work out. So
Mm-hmm.
possibly that.
Yeah. Have you read any books recently or just in the past that have been really influential to you?
Yeah, there's a book called The Energy Bus. Obviously, my number one book is the Bible. The Energy Bus is really good. It's about a lady who's a bus driver, and man, the way it was a lady or a guy, I don't remember. This was like a few years back, but I mean, she's like my hero. Just the way she takes her job, it was awesome. Like it's an amazing book.
Love it.
It's about positivity. It's about
Yeah.
whatever you do, you can really influence so many people in so many ways.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. Very good. I like it. I'm going to add it to my list. The Energy Bus, you said?
The Energy Bus, yeah.
Okay.
I have a few more
Perfect.
books. I just can't. There's another one. Sorry, I read. It's called "How Do I Raise Myself from Failures to Success in Selling." It's a very old book. That's a really good one. There's a story about selling, and there's a lesson about selling. Is so good. It's pretty much like, to summarize it, that lesson is customers constantly talk about price, price, price. You have to constantly reshift to what the product does for them, what it's
Mm.
for. They
Mhm.
focus on price, you focus on what it does for them. They focus on price, you constantly have to shift back to what it does for them. And that plays a huge role into especially insurance sales. We talk about risk management, right? We talk about you getting sued from an accident and that sort of stuff. And then customers talk about saving $10 a month, saving pennies. We're like, let's save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, not $10, right? So
Yeah.
it plays a huge role in that.
Yeah.
And I think you can apply that to many things in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the recommendations.
Of course.
Okay, Albert. So if people obviously are going to want to follow you, support you along the way, best way to do so is through Instagram, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It's either my full name, Albert Tadevosyan, or marshall.art.nerd.
Yes. So
'cause
people
we're
listening,
nerds.
marshall.art.nerd. Everybody, please follow along, support this guy. I think he's got a lot more in him, and he's about to show you. And so I wish you all the best, Albert. And I appreciate you taking the time. It was wonderful just to catch up. It's been some time. And so I'm super excited for what you have to come. I have all the good feelings for the direction you're going, just in general.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. I really
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Anything else you need to share with the crew?
Not really, no.
All
Nothing I
right.
can think of.
I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening to The Grip. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow along on Instagram at The Grip Pod to stay up to date on new episodes. That way you can send over a DM if you've got a question you'd like to hear answered on our roll call series. Now remember, stay sharp, be grounded, and never lose your grip. See you next time.